businessman comes home early and catches his ex taking his son without permission. Michael Thompson felt his heart racing as he walked up the street toward his home in Beverly Hills, New York City. The meeting had ended earlier than expected, and he decided to take the opportunity to pick up some important documents he had forgotten at home. That's when he turned the corner and saw something that made his blood run cold. Jennifer, his ex-wife, was putting Ethan into the back seat of her car. The 6-year-old boy was crying and struggling while she held his arm firmly. In the open trunk, Michael recognized the same blue suitcases she had used when she moved out of the house 2 years ago, right after the divorce. "Ethan?" shouted Michael, quickening his pace. The boy immediately turned his head and tried to break free from his mother. "Daddy, Daddy," she said, "we were going for a ride, but I don't want to go." Jennifer froze when she heard Michael's voice. Her face, usually serene, was pale and tense. Her hands trembled as she still held her son's arm. "Michael, I can explain." Her voice came out weak, almost a whisper. "Explain what?" He approached, looking at the suitcases. "What kind of ride needs so much luggage?" The businessman looked at his son, whose eyes were red from crying. The boy was wearing his favorite beige t-shirt, the same one he wore whenever he got nervous. Michael picked him up, feeling the small body tremble. "It's okay, son. Daddy is here now." While calming Ethan, Michael noticed something strange. The house door was slightly open. Margaret, the nanny who looked after the boy during the week, always locked everything when she went out with him. His alarm instinct went off. "Jennifer, where is Margaret?" The ex-wife averted her gaze, biting her lower lip. It was the same gesture she made when she was hiding something during their marriage. She's inside." Michael felt a tightness in his chest. Something was very wrong. He put Ethan down and ran into the house, ignoring Jennifer's protests behind him. What he saw in the kitchen shocked him. Margaret was sitting in one of the chairs, with her hands tied behind her back with duct tape. Her eyes were wide with fear, and there was a piece of cloth tied as a gag in her mouth. She shook her head frantically when she saw him. "My God!" Michael ran to her and began removing the gag. "What happened here?" Before Margaret could answer, Jennifer appeared in the kitchen doorway with Ethan clinging to her leg. "I had to do this, Michael. You don't understand. I had no choice." The nanny, as soon as she could speak, began trembling even more. "Mr. Thompson, she arrived here an hour ago saying she was taking Ethan for a ride. When I told her you hadn't authorized it, she pushed me and did this. I tried to call you, but she took my phone." Michael released Margaret's hands and turned to Jennifer. He never imagined his ex-wife was capable of something like this. During their 6 years of marriage, she had always been sweet and calm, even in the most difficult times. "Jennifer, for God's sake, what's going on with you?" The blonde woman slid down the wall until she was sitting on the floor. Tears began to fall down her face as she hugged her own knees. "My mother is in the hospital in Rochester. The doctors said she won't make it through the week. I need to take Ethan so she can say goodbye to him." Michael felt a mix of compassion and anger. He knew Mrs. Eleanor, Jennifer's mother, well. She was a strong woman who had always treated Michael with affection, even after the divorce. But that didn't justify what Jennifer was doing. "You could have called me, talked to me. We always agreed that any decision about Ethan would be made together. Always." Jennifer lifted her head, her green eyes shining with a mixture of sadness and anger. "You're always traveling, Michael. When I call, you're in a meeting. When I text, it takes hours for you to reply. How can I talk to someone who's never available?" The businessman swallowed hard. She had a point there. In recent months, after he took over the management of 3 of the company's branches in the interior, his trips had become more frequent. Sometimes he spent entire weeks away, leaving Ethan with Margaret during the week and with Jennifer on weekends. Ethan broke free from his mother and ran to his father. "Daddy, I want to go see Grandma Eleanor, but I want you to come too." Michael picked up his son again. The boy had short, curly hair, big, expressive eyes that always melted his heart. He and Jennifer had met in college, when he was still a broke business student and she was studying nutrition. The love between them had always been intense, but the differences began to appear when Michael started to grow professionally. "We'll figure this out, son, I promise." Margaret, who had stood up and was massaging her wrists marked by the tape, cleared her throat. "Mr. Thompson, there's one more thing you need to know." Jennifer jumped to her feet. "Margaret, no." But the nanny continued, her voice steady despite her nervousness. "In the last 3 weeks, Mrs. Jennifer has received several strange phone calls. I answered one of them by accident when her phone rang and was near me. It was a man demanding money, saying she had a debt of almost $200,000. The silence that followed was heavy. Michael looked at Jennifer, who had slid back down the wall, this time covering her face with her hands. $200,000? Jennifer, what debt is this?" The answer came muffled by her hands. "From Jason." Michael felt as if he'd been punched in the stomach. Jason was Jennifer's boyfriend, a man she started dating 6 months after the divorce. He had met the guy once when he went to pick up Ethan from Jennifer's house. Jason seemed nice, but there was something about him that bothered Michael, something he couldn't quite define. What does Jason have to do with this? Jennifer finally took her hands away from her face. Her eyes were red and swollen. "He needed money to open a restaurant. He said it was going to work, that in 6 months he'd pay everything back with interest. I believed him, Michael. I took all the money I had saved plus a loan from the bank. The restaurant went bankrupt in 3 months. Mommy, why are you crying?" Ethan squirmed in his father's arms, worried. Michael put him down and pointed to Margaret. "Ethan, go to your room with Margaret. Daddy and Mommy need to talk." "But I want to stay here." "Now, son, please." Michael's firm tone made the boy obey, though reluctantly. Margaret took his hand and led him upstairs. As soon as he heard the bedroom door close, Michael turned to Jennifer. "How could you do something so irresponsible? You have a son to raise, can I know?" she shouted back, standing up. "You think I don't know? That's exactly why I agreed when he asked me for money. He promised we were going to build something together, that the restaurant would be our future. I wanted to give Ethan a better life. By giving money to a man you barely know? At least he's present, Michael. At least he has dinner with me, watches movies with me, talks to me. When was the last time you did that?" Jennifer's words hit Michael like arrows. He knew he had distanced himself not only from her, but also from his son. The trips, the meetings, the pressure to make the company grow had consumed all his time and energy. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing. "That doesn't justify what you did today," said Michael, trying to keep his voice controlled. "You tied up Margaret, scared our son. You were going to run off without telling me." "Run off?" Jennifer let out a bitter laugh. "I wasn't running off. I was trying to save what's left of my life." "What do you mean?" Jennifer walked to the kitchen window, looking out without really seeing anything. "It's been 3 months since I lost my job at the nutrition clinic. The practice where I worked closed down. Since then, I've been trying to find another job, but nothing's come up. The alimony you pay covers Ethan's expenses, but there's nothing left for me. My rent is 2 months late. Last week, I got an eviction notice." Michael fell silent, processing the information. Jennifer had always been too proud to ask for help, even when they were married. It was one of the things he both admired and found irritating about her. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because I didn't want your pity." She turned to face him. "You've already done enough by paying the alimony. I wasn't going to depend on you for everything. I wanted to handle it myself. And you thought running off to Rochester would solve it. My mother has a house there. Even after she—" Her voice faltered. "Even after she's gone, the house will be mine. I could start over there, find work, give Ethan a home away from all this mess." "And me?" Michael felt the anger rising again. "You were just going to take my son away from me? You're barely present in his life. It wouldn't have made that much difference." The silence that followed was broken by a noise from upstairs. They both ran to the stairs, and what they saw left them frozen. Ethan was at the bedroom window, half his body leaning out. "Ethan, no!" Jennifer screamed. The boy looked down at his parents, tears streaming down his face. "I hate it when you fight. I hate it." Margaret was behind him, clearly terrified, and not knowing what to do. "Mr. Thompson," he slipped out of my hand and ran over here. Michael took the stairs 2 at a time, with Jennifer right behind him. When they entered the room, Ethan was leaning even further out the window. "Son, please come back inside." Michael tried to keep his voice calm, although his heart was pounding uncontrollably. "Only if you stop fighting. Promise." Jennifer approached slowly. "We promise, sweetheart. Now come back to Mommy." "You always promise, but then you fight again." Michael realized the situation was getting out of control. Ethan's room was on the second floor, and although there was a garden below, a fall from that height could be serious. He looked around for a solution. "Margaret, call Dr. Reynolds," he said, referring to their neighbor who was a doctor. "No," Ethan yelled. "No doctor. You have to stop fighting now." That's when Jennifer had an idea. She began to softly sing a song she always sang to Ethan when he was a baby. It was an old lullaby that Mrs. Eleanor herself used to sing to Jennifer when she was a child. The boy seemed to calm down a little, recognizing the melody. Michael understood what she was doing and joined in the song, although his voice was shaky. Together, they continued singing as they slowly approached the window. When they were close enough, Michael reached out his arms. "Come on, son. Come to Daddy." Ethan hesitated for a moment, then reached his arms out in return. Michael grabbed him in a quick motion and pulled him away from the window, hugging him tightly against his chest. Jennifer joined the hug, and the three of them stood there, trembling for several minutes. "Never do that again, Ethan," Michael whispered into his son's ear. "Never again. Will you stop fighting?" "We'll try, son," Jennifer answered, stroking the boy's curly hair. "We'll try very hard." Margaret, who was standing at the bedroom door, wiped the tears streaming down her face. She was a woman in her early 50s who had worked for the family for 3 years. She had seen Michael and Jennifer's marriage fall apart, and now she was witnessing the painful consequences of that separation. After Ethan had calmed down, they went down to the living room. Michael called Dr. Reynolds just to be sure the boy was okay. The neighbor came quickly and, after examining him, assured them that he was physically fine, but recommended they seek psychological help for the child. When Dr. Reynolds left, Michael prepared a hot chocolate for Ethan, who was sitting on the sofa hugging a teddy bear. Jennifer was in the kitchen, washing the cups with her hands still shaking. "We need to talk about all of this," said Michael, approaching her, but calmly, no shouting. "I know." At that moment, the doorbell rang. Michael went to answer it, hoping it was Dr. Reynolds who had forgotten something. But when he opened the door, his heart sank. It was Barbara, his mother, accompanied by his father, Robert. They both had worried looks on their faces. "Margaret called me saying there was an emergency here," said Barbara, entering without waiting for an invitation. She was a 65-year-old woman, with graying hair tied in a bun and an always attentive gaze. "What's going on?" Before Michael could answer, Barbara saw Jennifer in the kitchen and her face hardened. "I should have guessed she was involved in this." "Mom, please don't start," Michael sighed. Robert, a 70-year-old man with white hair and a posture stooped from years of hard work, put his hand on his son's shoulder. "What happened, son?" Michael briefly explained the situation, omitting some details to avoid making things worse. Even so, when he finished, Barbara was visibly furious. "She tied up the nanny, was going to run away with my grandson." She marched toward Jennifer. "You're no good as a mother, I always knew it." "Mom!" Michael stepped between the two women. Jennifer, who was already emotionally drained, couldn't take it. Tears started to fall again as she responded. "You never liked me. From the first day Michael took me to your house, you treated me as if I weren't good enough for him." "Because you weren't," Barbara shot back. "My son deserved someone better, someone who wouldn't make him suffer. I suffered too. The marriage ended for both of us, not just for him." Robert stepped closer, his calm voice cutting through the argument. "That's enough, both of you. This isn't helping anyone." Ethan, who was on the sofa, started to cry again. Margaret tried to comfort him, but he only wanted his parents. Michael went to him and picked him up. "Grandma and Grandpa, please go home. We'll sort this out tomorrow." "I'm not leaving my grandson in this house with that woman," Barbara declared. "She is his mother, Mom, and nothing will happen. I'm here." Barbara and Robert exchanged looks. Finally, Michael's father nodded. Let's go, Barbara. Let them sort it out. But Robert, let's go. Reluctantly, Barbara agreed, but not without casting one last disapproving look at Jennifer. When they left, the house fell into a heavy silence. Michael put Ethan down on the sofa and sat next to him. Jennifer timidly approached and sat on the other side. Margaret, sensing they needed privacy, excused herself and went to the kitchen. "Ethan," Michael began, taking his son's small hand. "We need you to tell the truth. When Mommy said you were going on a trip, did you believe her?" The boy lowered his head. "No." "Why not?" "Because it's not the first time." His voice came out low, almost a whisper. Michael and Jennifer looked at each other, confused. "What do you mean, son?" Jennifer asked. "Last month, Mommy tried to take me again. We were at the park and she said we were going to leave and travel. But then Aunt Margaret arrived and she changed her mind." Michael felt his blood boil. "Jennifer, is this true?" She didn't answer, which was answer enough. "And there was another time, too," Ethan continued. "It was when we went to Grandma Eleanor's house. Mommy said we were going to live there, but then you called, Daddy, and she got scared." "My God, Jennifer." Michael ran his hand over his face. "How long have you been planning this?" "Ever since I lost my job," she admitted, her voice weak. "I was desperate, Michael. With each passing day, things got worse. The debts mounting, the rent overdue, my mother sick. I just wanted to protect Ethan from all of it." "But you were scaring him. Don't you see that's worse?" Ethan got up from the sofa and went to his mother, hugging her. "I don't want Mommy to be sad. I want to go see Grandma Eleanor, but I want everyone to go together." The child's innocence broke something inside Michael. He realized that in the middle of all that confusion, what Ethan wanted most was simply to have a family together, even if it was just for a few moments. "Okay," he sighed. "Tomorrow we're going to Rochester, all of us." Jennifer lifted her head, surprised. "Really? Really? But afterwards, we're going to sit down and sort all this out properly. The debts, your situation, everything. And no more running away or hiding things. We are Ethan's parents, and that means we have to be partners in this even if we're separated." For a moment it seemed like things would finally calm down, but then Jennifer's cell phone rang. She looked at the screen and her face paled. "It's Jason." "Answer it," Michael said, his voice cold. With trembling hands, Jennifer answered and put it on speakerphone. "Jennifer, where are you?" The male voice on the other end sounded nervous. "You need to get over here now. There's a guy saying he's going to break everything if we don't pay today." "Jason, I already told you I don't have any more money." "Then get some. Ask that rich ex-husband of yours. This debt is ours." Michael snatched the phone from Jennifer's hand. "This is Michael, and that debt isn't hers, it's yours. And if you show up near my family again, I'm going to have a very serious conversation with you." There was a silence on the other end, then a nervous laugh. "Oh, the successful businessman. Jennifer was always talking about you. You know, I always found it funny how she defended you, even though you abandoned her and your son." "I never abandoned my son." "No? Then why does he spend the whole week with the nanny and not with you? Why did Jennifer cry every time you cancelled a weekend with the boy because of work?" The words hit Michael hard. He knew Jason was trying to manipulate the situation, but there was truth there, a truth that hurt. "That doesn't give you the right to use her." "Use?" Jason let out another laugh. "I love Jennifer. I wanted to build a future with her. It's not my fault if things didn't work out." "You drowned her in debt. And you drowned her in loneliness. Which is worse?" Michael hung up the phone, taking a deep breath to control his anger. Ethan was holding Jennifer's hand, his eyes wide with fear. "Daddy, who is that man?" "No one important, son." But before they could continue the conversation, the doorbell rang again. Michael went to answer it, wondering who it could be now. To his surprise, it was Jason. The man was at the door, sweaty and disheveled. He was about 35, with messy hair and red eyes, as if he hadn't slept in days. "We need to talk," he said, not waiting for an invitation and stepping into the house. Michael grabbed him by the arm. "You weren't invited." "Michael, please," Jennifer appeared behind him. Let's hear what he has to say. Reluctantly, Michael let Jason in. Margaret immediately took Ethan to the bedroom, protecting the boy from more drama. The three adults remained in the living room, the tension palpable in the air. "Just say what you want," Michael said, crossing his arms. Jason looked at Jennifer, then at Michael. "I came to apologize, and to tell the truth." "What truth?" Jennifer asked. "The debt isn't $200,000, it's $350,000. The silence that followed was deafening. Jennifer staggered, and Michael held her by the arm. "What do you mean? You said it was 200. "I lied," Jason lowered his head. "After the restaurant went bankrupt, I got desperate. I tried to win the money back by gambling. It only made everything worse." Michael felt the urge to hit that man, but he controlled himself. "And what do you want? For me to pay your debts?" "No. I came to warn you that there are people looking for Jennifer. Dangerous people who lend money. They think she's my business partner." "But I'm not," Jennifer screamed. "I just lent you money." "I know, but I put her name down as a partner to get more credit from the bank." The revelations kept getting worse. Michael needed to sit down, feeling everything start to crumble. How had his life been turned upside down in less than 24 hours? "You destroyed her life," Michael said, his voice low and dangerous. "I know, and I'm sorry. But I came to warn you because, despite everything, I care about her." Jennifer let out a hysterical laugh. "You care? You ruined me. I lost everything because of you." "You had everything," Jason retorted. "You lived alone, with your son at daycare more than with you, waiting for an ex-husband who never had time. I offered companionship. I offered love. You offered lies." Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like the video, and especially to subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing. The argument was interrupted by a scream from upstairs. The three of them ran to the stairs and found Margaret at the door to Ethan's room, pale. "He locked the door from the inside and says he won't come out until everyone leaves." Michael ran up and knocked on the door. "Ethan, open the door, son." "No, everyone go away. I want to be alone." "Son, please. I hate you. I hate all of you." The boy's words echoed down the hallway, piercing Michael's heart. He leaned his head against the door, defeated. Jennifer was beside him, crying silently. Jason had stayed downstairs, clearly not knowing what to do. It was Margaret who took the initiative. She approached the door and began to speak, her voice calm and maternal. "Ethan, my love, it's Aunt Margaret. Remember when you were scared of that thunder and Auntie slept with you?" Silence. "And when you had a nightmare and we made hot chocolate and talked until you felt better?" "I remember," the boy's voice came through, muffled. "Auntie knows everything is very confusing right now. The adults are being silly, fighting and shouting. But you know what Auntie has learned in life? Sometimes the people we love do the wrong things, but that doesn't mean they don't love us." "But they just fight." "Because they're scared, my love. Your daddy is scared of losing you. Your mommy is scared she can't take care of you, and when people are scared, sometimes they do silly things." They heard a movement on the other side of the door, then the sound of the lock being opened. Ethan appeared, his eyes red and swollen. Margaret hugged him and he started to cry on her shoulder. "I just wanted us to be happy," he sobbed. Michael knelt beside them. "We will be, son. I promise." "But how?" "Everyone is fighting, Grandma Eleanor is sick, Mommy is in trouble. Because we're going to fix everything, one problem at a time, and we're going to do it together." Jennifer joined them, hugging her son from the other side. Jason, who had gone upstairs, was watching from a distance, clearly feeling out of place. "I'm leaving," he said quietly. "Jennifer, I'll find a way to settle this debt without involving you. I promise." Before anyone could answer, he went down the stairs and left the house. The sound of the door closing echoed through the quiet house. That night, after a great deal of effort, they managed to calm Ethan down. Michael decided to stay home, texting his assistant to cancel all his appointments for the next few days. He wasn't going to let work be more important than his son anymore. Jennifer stayed too, sleeping in the guest room. It was strange having her there after so long, but necessary. Ethan needed to feel that his parents were united, even if it was only temporary. The next morning, Michael woke up early and went to the kitchen to make coffee. He found Jennifer already awake, sitting at the table with a cup in her hands. "Couldn't sleep?" he asked. "I didn't even try. I was thinking about everything that happened." Michael poured himself some coffee and sat down across from her. "Jennifer, we need to be honest with each other from now on. No lies, no omissions." "I know. So tell me everything from the beginning. When did things start to go bad for you?" Jennifer took a deep breath and began to tell her story. She talked about how she lost her job when the clinic closed suddenly without any warning. How she tried to find another job, but the market was tough. How she started using her savings to get by until they ran out. How she met Jason in a support group for people who had lost their jobs. "He was different at first," she said, tears welling up again. "Attentive, understanding. He said he was going through the same thing. When he told me about the restaurant idea, it seemed brilliant. He had experience in the field. He had a well-structured business plan. And you believed him." "I wanted to believe. I really wanted it to work, not just for me, but for Ethan. I wanted to be able to offer him more, you know? Trips, a better school, experiences. He already has everything he needs. He has you." Jennifer let out a humorless laugh. "Does he? I can barely pay my own bills. How am I supposed to give him what he needs? Money isn't everything, Jennifer. I learned that the hard way." "What do you mean?" Michael then told her something he had never shared with her during their marriage. He talked about how his father, Robert, worked his whole life in a factory, doing overtime to support the family. How he barely saw his father when he was a child because Robert left early and came home late. How that example of dedication to work shaped Michael, making him believe that being a good father meant providing financially. "It was only when we divorced that I realized how much I was repeating the same mistake," he said. "I was so focused on building a financial empire that I forgot to build a relationship with my son. Why did you never tell me this before?" Pride, maybe. Or fear of admitting I was wrong. They sat in silence for a moment, processing the conversation. That's when they heard footsteps on the stairs. Ethan appeared in the kitchen, rubbing his eyes. "Good morning," he said in a sleepy voice. "Good morning, champ." Michael opened his arms and the boy ran into them. "Are we still going to see Grandma Eleanor today?" Michael looked at Jennifer, who nodded. "Yes, we are. But first we need to do one thing." "What?" "We are going to visit your paternal grandparents. Your father and your mother need to talk to them." Ethan made a face. "Grandma Barbara doesn't like Mommy." "I know, son. But sometimes adults need to solve their problems, just like you solved yours yesterday when you opened your bedroom door." The boy thought for a moment, then nodded. "Okay. But can I have pancakes first?" Michael laughed, feeling some of the tension dissipate. "Yes, you can." While preparing breakfast, Michael noticed Margaret at the kitchen door. She had a strange expression on her face, as if she was struggling to decide whether to say something or not. "What is it, Margaret?" The nanny entered the kitchen and closed the door behind her. "Mr. Thompson, there's something I need to tell you. It's about Jason." Jennifer stood up immediately. "What about him?" "In the last few weeks, when Mrs. Jennifer came to pick up Ethan here, I overheard conversations on the intercom. Not on purpose, but the volume was loud. And one of those times I heard Jason talking to someone on the phone." "Saying what?" "He said the plan was working, that soon he would have enough money to pay off his real debts, and that Jennifer was just a means to get it." Michael's blood boiled. He was using her from the beginning? It seems so. And there's more. I recorded the conversation. "You what?" Jennifer's eyes widened. "I know it was wrong, but something about that man never seemed right to me. So I started recording whenever he showed up here." Margaret took out her phone and started playing the audio. Jason's voice echoed through the kitchen, and with each word, the truth was revealed. He had indeed planned everything from the start. He found out that Jennifer was the ex-wife of a successful businessman and saw an opportunity. He approached her, gained her trust, and then created the story about the restaurant. The original plan was to convince her to ask Michael for money, saying it was for something related to Ethan. But Jennifer refused, preferring to use her own savings. So Jason changed his strategy, leading her to take out loans from banks. My God, Jennifer covered her mouth with her hands. I was such a fool. No, Michael held her hands. You were deceived by a manipulator. That's not your fault. Ethan, who was sitting at the table eating pancakes, watched everything with wide eyes. Is Uncle Jason mean? Yes, son. Very mean, Jennifer replied, hugging the boy. But Mommy won't let him hurt anyone ever again. Michael took Margaret's phone. With these recordings we can prove you were a victim of fraud. This changes everything regarding the debts. How? If we prove he intentionally deceived you, you might not be held responsible for the entire debt, especially if he forged your signature on the partnership documents. For the first time in a long time, Michael saw a glimmer of hope in Jennifer's eyes. Do you think it will work? I'm calling my lawyer right now. While Michael made the call, Jennifer hugged Margaret. Thank you for everything, for taking care of Ethan, for protecting me even when I didn't deserve it. You always deserved it, Mrs. Jennifer. You are a good mother. You were just lost. After breakfast, they got ready to go to Barbara and Robert's house. On the way, Michael tried to prepare Jennifer for the meeting. My mother can be difficult, but deep down she only wants what's best for Ethan. She hates me, Michael. She always has. She doesn't hate you. She's just afraid of you hurting her grandson. When they arrived at Michael's parents' house, Barbara opened the door with a stern expression. But when she saw Ethan, her face lit up. My beautiful grandson. Come give Grandma a hug. Ethan ran into her arms, and Barbara covered him with kisses. Robert appeared behind her, smiling at his grandson. Come in, he said, making space. The living room was just as Michael remembered from his childhood. Simple but well-kept furniture, family photos on the walls, the smell of fresh coffee coming from the kitchen. That house had always been a safe harbor for him. Everyone sat down in the living room. Barbara kept Ethan on her lap, clearly reluctant to let him go. Michael cleared his throat. Mom, Dad, we need to talk about some things. If this is about what happened yesterday, I've already made my position clear, Barbara said, giving Jennifer a hard look. Mom, please listen. There are things you don't know. And then Michael told her everything, about Jennifer's unemployment, about Jason and his manipulations, about Margaret's recordings, about Ethan's suicide attempt, about Jennifer's mother in the hospital. As he spoke, he saw Barbara's expression gradually change. And I have my own share of the blame in all this, Michael admitted. I was so focused on work that I neglected my family. I let Jennifer handle everything alone, and when she needed help, she was too proud to ask because of our history. Robert, who had been listening silently, finally spoke. Son, you're being too hard on yourself. No, Dad. I'm being honest. For the first time in a long time. Barbara put Ethan down and walked over to Jennifer, who immediately braced herself for another confrontation. But to everyone's surprise, the older woman extended her hand. I'm sorry, she said, her voice choked. I judged you without knowing the whole story. Jennifer took her hand, tears streaming down her face. I'm sorry too. For everything. For not being strong enough, for putting Ethan in danger. You were strong, Barbara interrupted her. Stronger than I would have been in your situation. Raising a child alone, dealing with loss, with betrayal, that takes a lot of strength. The two women hugged and Michael felt a lump in his throat. He never thought he'd see this day. Robert approached his son. Michael, you know I worked a lot when you were a child. Sometimes I wonder if I did the right thing, if I should have spent more time with you. Dad, you did what you had to do. We never went without. But you went without a present father, and now you're doing the same thing with Ethan. The words hit Michael deeply. He always knew he was repeating his father's pattern, but hearing it from him was different. I'm going to change that, Dad. I promise. I know you will, because you're better than me. You recognize the mistake and want to fix it. It took me a whole lifetime to realize that. Ethan, who had been watching everything, approached his grandfather. Grandpa, do you think people can change? Robert knelt down to be at his grandson's eye level. I do, my grandson. People can always change as long as they truly want to. So can Daddy and Mommy stop fighting? Yes, they can. At that moment, Jennifer's phone rang. She looked at the screen and her face turned pale. "It's from the hospital in Rochester." With trembling hands, she answered. Everyone fell silent, trying to understand the conversation from Jennifer's face. When she hung up, she was pale. "My mother has gotten worse. The doctors say that it won't be long." Dear listener, if you are enjoying the story, please take a moment to like the video and especially to subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing. Michael didn't hesitate. "Let's go now. All of us." "Michael, you have work." "Nothing is more important than this. Nothing." Barbara stepped closer. "We're coming too. Mrs. Eleanor has always been a good woman. She deserves to have her whole family with her." In less than an hour, they were on the road to Rochester. Michael drove his car with Jennifer and Ethan, while Barbara and Robert followed close behind in another vehicle. Margaret had stayed behind to look after the house. During the 3-hour trip, Ethan slept in the back seat. Michael and Jennifer talked quietly, reminiscing about the good times they had together, before everything fell apart. "Remember when we met in college?" Jennifer smiled sadly. "You were so shy. And you were so determined. You knew exactly what you wanted from life. Funny how things change, huh? I used to be so decisive, but I ended up lost. And you, who were shy, became a successful businessman. Professional success, maybe. But I failed at what really matters." "Don't say that. You're a good father, Michael. You were just lost too." They arrived at the hospital in the early afternoon. Mrs. Eleanor was in a private room surrounded by machines. The sight of her mother in that state made Jennifer break down. Michael held her as she cried. Ethan, upon seeing his grandmother, ran to the bed. "Grandma, Grandma, wake up!" Mrs. Eleanor opened her eyes slowly. When she saw her grandson, a faint smile appeared on her face. My little grandson." Her voice came out weak. "Grandma, I came to see you. Daddy and Mommy came too." The elderly woman looked at Michael and Jennifer. With effort, she stretched out a hand to each of them. "Take care of each other," she whispered. "For Ethan's sake." "Mom, don't talk like that." Jennifer held her hand. "You're going to get better." But Mrs. Eleanor shook her head slightly. "My time has come, but I am at peace, because I know my family is united." Barbara and Robert entered the room at that moment. Upon seeing Mrs. Eleanor, Barbara began to cry silently. The two women were never close, but there was mutual respect between them. "Eleanor," Barbara approached the bed, "I will take care of your daughter, I promise, Mrs." Eleanor squeezed Barbara's hand in a gesture of gratitude. Then she looked at Ethan again. "Come here, my love." Ethan approached and she stroked his face. "You are going to be an amazing man. Take care of your mother. For Grandma." "I will, Grandma, I promise." Mrs. Eleanor closed her eyes, still smiling. The machines around her began to beep. Nurses came running in, but it was too late. Mrs. Eleanor had passed away, surrounded by her family, in peace. Jennifer collapsed on the floor, sobbing. Michael hugged her, allowing all her pain to come out. Ethan cried in Robert's lap, who comforted him with soft words. Barbara prayed quietly, tears streaming down her face. The following days were a blur of decisions and preparations. Mrs. Eleanor's funeral was simple but dignified, attended by friends and acquaintances the woman had made throughout her life in Rochester. Jennifer stayed strong during the ceremony for Ethan's sake, but Michael knew she was destroyed inside. After the funeral, they needed to sort out practical matters. Mrs. Eleanor's house needed to be organized, documents needed to be reviewed, and the inheritance needed to be divided. Jennifer was an only child, so everything would go to her, but the process would take time. It was during this organization that they found something that would change everything again. In Mrs. Eleanor's room, inside an old box, Jennifer found documents her mother had never mentioned. They were medical reports, dated 20 years ago. "Michael, you need to see this," Jennifer called him, trembling. Michael took the documents and read them. His heart raced as he understood what was written there. "She had a son before you." Jennifer shook her head, confused. "No, She always said I was an only child. Then who is this Daniel Mitchell, born in 1985? They kept looking and found more documents. Old photos, certificates, letters. The truth began to reveal itself little by little. Mrs. Eleanor had a son when she was young, the result of a relationship her family disapproved of. The child was given up for adoption, and she was forbidden to speak about it. "I have a brother," Jennifer whispered in disbelief, "and I never knew." "Maybe your mother wanted to tell you, but never found the right moment," Michael suggested. "Or maybe she was ashamed. My grandmother was very strict about these things." They decided to look for Daniel. With the help of a private investigator Michael knew, they began the search. It took a few weeks, but they finally found him. Daniel Mitchell was alive and living in New York City, less than an hour from where Michael Thompson lived. Jennifer was nervous when they scheduled the meeting. What if he didn't want to meet her? What if he was angry about having been given up for adoption? What if he blamed her? But when Daniel appeared at the cafe where they had arranged to meet, Jennifer knew immediately who he was. He had the same eyes as Mrs. Eleanor, the same gentle smile. He was about 40 years old, a history teacher, and seemed like a calm and thoughtful person. "Jennifer?" he asked, approaching the table. "Daniel?" She stood up, unsure whether to hug him or shake his hand. Daniel solved the issue by opening his arms. They hugged, and Jennifer felt as if she had known that man her entire life. "I always knew I was adopted," Daniel told her after they sat down. "My adoptive parents were honest with me from the beginning, but they didn't have much information about my birth mother. Just her name, Eleanor." "She passed away a few weeks ago," Jennifer said, her voice choked. Daniel was silent for a moment, processing the information. "I always wanted to meet her. I always wondered why she gave me up for adoption, if she ever thought about me." "She did," Jennifer showed him the letters they had found. "Look." The letters were addressed to Daniel, but they were never sent. In each one, Mrs. Eleanor talked about her life, her regret for having given up her son, and the love she always felt for him. There were letters from every year, from when he was born until just a few weeks before she died. Daniel read each one with tears in his eyes. "She never forgot me," he whispered. "Never. And I think she wanted you to know that. That's why she kept everything for me to find." They spent hours talking. Daniel talked about his life, about his adoptive parents who loved him unconditionally, about his wife and his 2 children. Jennifer talked about her childhood with Mrs. Eleanor, about Ethan, about everything that had happened. "You have a son?" Daniel smiled. "So I have a nephew." "You do. And I know he would love to meet you." Jennifer's family, which had been so small, suddenly grew larger. Daniel became a constant presence in their lives, bringing with him his wife, Rachel, and their children, Ryan and Emma. Ethan gained cousins to play with, and Jennifer gained the brother she never knew she had. But while this part of Jennifer's life was falling into place, the issue of the debts was still pending. Michael Thompson managed to prove, through Margaret's recordings and with the help of his lawyer, that Jennifer was a victim of fraud. Jason was investigated, and they discovered he had a history of similar scams with other women. The court absolved Jennifer of most of the debt, holding Jason fully responsible. But he had fled, and recovering the money would be difficult. Michael, without hesitation, paid Jennifer's remaining debts. "You don't have to do this," she protested. "I know, but I want to. Not for you, but for Ethan. He deserves a mother who can sleep peacefully, without fear of debt collectors." With the debts resolved and Mrs. Eleanor's inheritance finally released, Jennifer was able to start over. She sold the house in Rochester, and with the money opened her own nutrition clinic in New York City, this time with more care and planning. Michael kept his promise to be more present. He drastically reduced his travels, delegated more responsibilities to his team, and started having weekly dinners with Ethan. Every Friday, without exception, was Father-Son Day. Barbara and Jennifer developed a relationship that no one would have thought possible. The older woman became a kind of mentor to Jennifer, teaching her about resilience and overcoming. The two began meeting for coffee, and Barbara even helped Jennifer decorate her new clinic. One day, about 6 months after everything that happened, Michael received an unexpected call. It was from an unknown number. Hello? Michael? Yeah, it's Jason. Michael felt the anger rise immediately. You have the nerve to call me? I know you hate me, and you have every right, but I called to say I'm paying off the debt. How? I got an honest job. It will take years, but I will pay back every cent you spent on Jennifer. Not because you're making me, but because it's the right thing to do. And why should I believe you? You shouldn't. But I will prove it. Every month, you will receive a deposit. It might be small at first, but it will be steady. And it was. Every month, religiously, Michael received a deposit into his account. Small amounts at first, which gradually increased. He didn't tell Jennifer about Jason's calls, but he saved every cent in a separate account. When the amount was complete, he would give it to Jennifer to use for something special. Ethan was growing and developing well. The family therapy they started soon after all the events helped him a lot. He learned to express his emotions in a healthy way, and the psychologist assured them there would be no lasting trauma. The relationship between Michael and Jennifer evolved into something neither of them expected. They didn't get back together as a couple, but they became true partners in raising Ethan. They had monthly dinners together with their son, celebrated important dates together, and supported each other in difficult decisions. Daniel became an important figure for Ethan. The uncle always had interesting stories to tell, and his children, Ryan and Emma, became the boys' best friends. The family gatherings came to include everyone, Michael and his parents, Jennifer and Daniel with his family, and even Margaret, who became an inseparable part of the group. 1 year after Mrs. Eleanor's passing, they held a ceremony in her memory. It was at the house Daniel bought in Rochester, where he planned to spend weekends. They planted a tree in the garden in her honor, and each one shared a special memory. Grandma Eleanor taught me how to bake a cake, Ethan said when it was his turn. She said that one day I would be a famous chef. She taught me that it's never too late to start over, Jennifer added. She showed me through the letters that a mother's love never dies, Daniel said, moved. Michael, even though he had only known Mrs. Eleanor superficially, also wanted to speak. She taught me, through her example and her family, that what really matters are the bonds we create, not necessarily blood ties, but the ties of the heart. Barbara approached the tree and placed her hand on the trunk. Eleanor, wherever you are, know that your family is united, and we will keep it that way, in your memory. At that moment, a gentle breeze passed through the garden, rustling the leaves of the newly planted tree. Everyone felt as if it was Mrs. Eleanor giving her approval, her blessing for them to move forward, united. The months continued to pass. Jennifer's clinic prospered, and she even hired other nutritionists to help her. Michael continued to be successful in his business, but now with a better work-life balance. Ethan excelled in school, not just academically, but also socially. It was on one of these ordinary days, when Michael went to pick up Ethan from school, that he received news that took him by surprise. The boy's teacher asked to speak with him. Mr. Thompson, I wanted to talk to you about Ethan. Michael's heart tightened. Was something wrong? Is he okay? More than okay. He has been excelling a lot, especially in writing. Today he wrote something I would like you to read. She handed him an open notebook. The essay was titled, My Family. Michael began to read. My family isn't like the others. My daddy and my mommy don't live together, but they are friends. I have 2 grandpas and 2 grandmas who love me very much. I have an uncle I didn't know, but now he's very important to me. I have cousins who are my best friends. I have an Aunt Margaret who takes care of me like I'm real family. Before, I used to be sad because I thought my family was broken, but now I know it's not broken, it's just different. And different isn't bad, it's special. My teacher said family is whoever loves us, and I have a lot of people who love me. So I think I have a very big and very happy family. Michael finished reading with tears in his eyes. The teacher smiled. He has a very mature perspective for his age. You must be doing something very right. Or maybe he's wiser than all of us, Michael replied, proud. That night, Michael called Jennifer and told her about the essay. She was also moved. He's right, you know, she said. We really do have a special family. We sure do. And it's all thanks to you. Me? Michael, I almost ruined everything. But it was your love for Ethan that made us realize what really matters. It was you wanting to protect him, even if in the wrong way, that opened our eyes. There was a silence on the other end of the line. Then Jennifer said something that surprised Michael. Thank you for everything, for forgiving me, for helping me, for being the amazing father you are. Thank you for being the amazing mother you are. 2 years had passed since that fateful day when Michael came home and found Jennifer trying to take Ethan. A lot had changed, but the essential remained. The love everyone had for that boy with big eyes and a contagious smile. Ethan turned 9 at a party that brought together the whole extended family. Daniel came with Rachel and the kids. Barbara and Robert brought a cake they made together. Margaret organized the games, and Michael and Jennifer together sang happy birthday to their son. Make a wish, champ, Michael said as Ethan got ready to blow out the candles. The boy closed his eyes for a moment, then opened them with a smile. I already did. What did you wish for? Emma, the cousin, asked curiously. I can't tell, or it won't come true. But I can say it's already coming true. Later, when the party was winding down and the kids were playing in the yard, Michael and Jennifer sat side by side on the sofa, watching Ethan laugh with his cousins. Do you think we made it? Jennifer asked. Giving him a good life? Better than that. We gave him love. And in the end, that's all that matters. Jennifer rested her head on Michael's shoulder, not in a romantic way, but in a brotherly way. They were a team now, united by the most precious thing they had. Michael? Do you have any regrets about everything that happened, about how things are now? Michael thought for a moment before answering. I regret taking so long to learn the lessons I needed to learn. I regret not being a better husband, a better father, a better person. But I don't regret where we ended up. This family, the way it is now, crazy and mismatched. It's perfect. Jennifer smiled. It is. It's perfect. That night, after everyone had left and Ethan was asleep, Michael spent some time in the living room looking at old photos. There were photos from the wedding, photos from when Ethan was born, photos of happy times and difficult ones. Each one told a story. Each one was a piece of the puzzle that made up his life. His phone buzzed. It was a message from Margaret. Mr. Thompson, thank you for letting me be part of this family. You taught me that family isn't just about blood, it's about love. Michael smiled and replied, Thank you for teaching us what loyalty means. He put his phone away and went to Ethan's room. The boy was sleeping peacefully, hugging the teddy bear that had been his companion since he was a baby. Michael sat on the edge of the bed and watched his son sleep, something he hadn't done in a long time. You saved me, you know, he whispered. When I was getting lost in work, in ambition, in everything that doesn't matter, you saved me. You showed me what's really worthwhile. Ethan stirred in his sleep, a small smile on his face, as if even while sleeping he knew he was loved. Michael kissed his son's forehead and left the room. As he walked down the hallway, he saw the photos Jennifer had left when she moved out, photos of the 3 of them together, happy. He decided he would ask her to come get these photos, not because they wanted to erase the past, but because that past deserved to be remembered. The next day, Michael woke up with a decision made. He called his partner and announced he was stepping back from the executive board. He would remain a shareholder and participate in important decisions, but not in the day-to-day anymore. He wanted time. Time to be with Ethan, time to help Jennifer, time to be more present in the lives of his aging parents. The decision shocked a lot of people, but Michael was at peace with it. The money he would earn would be less, but enough, and the time he would gain was priceless. He used this extra time to do things he had always wanted to do. He started playing soccer with Ethan on weekends again. He began helping Barbara in the garden she loved so much. He started having bi-weekly lunches with Robert, listening to the stories his father had to tell. And surprisingly, he started helping Jennifer at the clinic. Not with the nutrition part, but with the administrative side. He had management knowledge, and Jennifer's clinic was growing. Why not use those skills to help her? Are you sure about this? Jennifer asked when he offered to help. Won't it be strange for us to work together? Why would it be? We're partners in raising Ethan. Why can't we be professional partners too? And it worked, better than anyone could have imagined. Michael reorganized the clinic's finances, implemented more efficient systems, and helped Jennifer expand to a second location. And he did all this working only 3 days a week, leaving enough time for everything else that mattered. One day, while they were reviewing the clinic's numbers, Jennifer asked a question she had been holding on to for a long time. "Michael, why are you doing all this? Helping with the debts, with the clinic, with everything?" Michael stopped what he was doing and looked at her. "Because I realized something. During our marriage, I was so focused on building an empire that I forgot to build a life. And when we lost that, when we separated, I lost the chance to have a traditional family. But I gained something perhaps more valuable, the chance to rebuild, to do things differently, to create something new. And what have we created? A modern family, imperfect but functional, separated but united where it counts, and I don't want to waste that." Jennifer was silent for a moment, processing. "You know, I spent a long time being angry with you, angry that you chose work, that you drifted away, about everything. But now I understand that you were just as lost as I was. I was, but we found each other. In a different way, but we found each other." They went back to working on the numbers, comfortable in the shared silence. There was no more tension between them, no more resentment. Just mutual respect and a common goal to give the best to Ethan. And speaking of Ethan, the boy continued to surprise everyone. At school, he stood out not only academically, but also as a conflict mediator. When two children fought, it was Ethan who helped resolve it. His teacher commented that he had a rare emotional maturity. "It's because I know what it's like to fight and make up," Ethan explained when Michael asked him about it. "I saw you and Mommy fight a lot, but I also saw you make up. And I learned that fighting is normal, but the important thing is to resolve it." Michael was impressed by his son's wisdom. That boy who had almost jumped out of a window in despair was now teaching other children about conflict resolution. "You make me so proud, you know," Michael said, hugging his son. "I know, Daddy, and I'm proud of you too." The years kept passing. Ethan grew up, moved on to elementary school, and began developing his own interests and hobbies. He liked to draw, especially people. His notebook was full of family portraits: Michael at work, Jennifer at the clinic, his grandparents in the garden, Daniel telling stories, his cousins playing. One day, he showed Michael a drawing that particularly moved him. It was the whole family gathered, but in the center was Mrs. Eleanor, like an angel with wings, blessing everyone. "I know that Grandma Eleanor is gone," Ethan explained, "but I feel like she's still with us, you know, taking care of all of us." Michael hugged his son, moved. "She is, son, she sure is." End of the story. And you, what did you think of this story of overcoming and family rebuilding? Were you moved by the journey of Michael, Jennifer, and Ethan? Leave in the comments which part touched you the most, and if you've ever been through something similar. Your story can inspire other people. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave your like for more stories that go straight to the heart.